UFC 297. What a mid card. I don't think anyone is going to disagree with that statement. It was honestly just kind of dead from top to bottom. There were a few highlights here and there, but I didn't have the greatest time watching it, if I'm going to be honest. All the Canadian fighters lost on the male side. There was one female Canadian fighter that won, Gillian Robertson, on the prelims. Featherweight opener, Movsar Evlov, whatever his name is, hype job, defeating Arnold Allen. I thought this was a pretty close fight, to be honest. I wouldn't have even minded if he scored it for Allen, because throughout it he was landing a lot of good body shots and being the aggressor for most of it, while Movsar would retaliate with his grappling, his clinch, and his takedowns. But he didn't really do too much with it, and even then, in those clinch exchanges, Arnold Allen was hitting some pretty gnarly elbows on him. But then in round two, there was a part of it where Arnold Allen got absolutely rocked, looked like he was out for a few seconds. So Movsar, like, he kind of proved to me at least that he's not one dimensional. He can strike as well. He's got power in his hands, and yeah, he did end up getting the unanimous decision, which I don't think was a bad call by any means. Like, but I could have seen it going to Allen as well. I thought it was a close fight, and just depending on how you score it. I think though by the end of it, Arnold Allen had taken the majority of the damage. It seemed so. Yeah. This was actually not too bad of a fight though, especially compared to everything else on the card. Like what came next, Chris Curtis defeating Mark Andre Baralt by split decision. This was just like an absolute, not absolute snooze fest. Like both guys were trading back and forth the whole time, but like so much of it was just getting blocked. There was nothing really landing that clean, and so it just wasn't that exciting until the third round. They really started going for it back and forth a bit more, and yeah, Chris Curtis got the win here. Split decision. I had a 30-27 to Curtis. And yeah, following that, even more kind of averageness. Neil Magny against Mike Malott. This was just I kind of just stopped watching throughout this because, like, I'm a big fan of Magny, but Malott, like he was really hyped coming into this, and he just didn't really deliver on that at all. Especially because he got TKO'd in like the last 15 seconds of the fight when he'd pretty much dominated the entire thing. And like I just, like I said, I kind of lost interest throughout. And then when it got to the end sequence when Magny took him down and started ground and pounding him, I actually got off my chair for the first time in the whole event. So, yeah, Magny winning by TKO at the end, and yeah, that actually probably was the biggest pop of the night for me. Great to see Magny get that. That was one of the craziest and funniest endings I've seen to a fight in a while. And then Women's Bantamweight Championship co-main event. One of the worst fights I've ever seen. Everything Sean Strickland said leading up to this was true. And like they may as well just cut this whole division. I don't care about anybody in it. And this literally just proved how dead it is. Like it's just so dead. Neither of these women are deserving of a championship. And it was just the most boring fight of all time. Pennington, all she did was clinch over and over. And Silver just had no gas tank really. And that was pretty much the entire fight. Apart from that, nothing really to. Nothing. There's nothing else to go on about with that really. It was just fucking dead. Biggest snooze fest ever. They were getting booed throughout the majority of it for good reason. And I never want to even see that title get defended by Pennington. Did I even say she won? Yeah, she did win. Deadest fight ever. Maybe I don't know what would be more dead about this and the Namajunas and the Sparza championship fight. Like they were both. It was just it was a chore. It was torture. But at least the main event was able to somewhat live up to expectations. They didn't come out like as hard as I expected. Like Strickland kind of just fought the exact same fight he always does. Stayed measured, fought behind the jab, and just again showed off his defensive capabilities real well. Duplessis was trying to come at him, but especially for the first round, like it just looked very similar to how Strickland fought Adesanya, just slopping all his shots and yeah, started jabbing his face off, creating distance with those tape kicks, and then kind of as the fight went on, it seemed like like I don't really deny Strickland's cardio, but it seemed like he was kind of fatiguing a little as it went on, and his defense um, wasn't staying up to that level it had at the beginning of the fight. And over the 5 rounds, Duplessis was able to land more and more shots. But Strickland was also just continuing with that jab. Duplessis' eye was getting ruined. His whole face, really, to be honest, was getting messed up. And Duplessis was able to mix in the wrestling at some points to get some takedowns. Couldn't really do anything with him though. Pretty much like Strickland got back to his feet every single time. But Duplessis was still able to mix up a lot of his shots, like some good leg kicks, body shots, question mark kicks, landed some good big right hands. But Strickland never really looked that hurt at any point. And yeah, it was kind of just really back and forth. Like I'd say Duplessis landed the bigger shots, but Strickland was just the volume striker throughout. And like it was definitely first round Strickland. Round 2 and 3 were almost dead even. They were really hard to score, but I gave round 2 to Duplessis. I gave round 3 to Strickland, and then again Duplessis came back in round 4, and yeah, was just landing the more significant shots, initiating the grappling. And then round 5 was kind of what I expected round 1 to be, where they really just turned it up and started going back and forth a lot more. And I think Strickland was just way more active and way more consistent throughout that round and landed the better shots. So overall, I did have it. I had it 1-3-5 to Strickland, I believe. I don't think this was a robbery though. Like everyone is going so mad, saying how this fight was an absolute robbery. It wasn't. Like any fight this close is just like it was such a close fight. It was a split decision. You look on verdicts, like those round 2 and 3 was almost dead even. There was no robbery here whatsoever. It could have gone either way. Um, I guess just because Strickland's got the fan base he does, everyone's going to be saying that. But I wasn't mad at Duplessis getting the decision at all, even though I did score it for Strickland. And I'm happy for Duplessis, to be honest. I'm a fan of him. I was a fan of both guys. I didn't really mind who walked away with the belt, and I wouldn't even mind if they did a rematch, to be honest. Like, because this was such a close fight, and it was an entertaining fight. Like, it wasn't as much of a straight up brawl as I or maybe some others expected, just because of like the emotion that Strickland had going into it, or I thought he might have, but then he stayed composed in there, fought the fight he usually does, and yeah, but Duplessis was able to get the belt, and I think maybe if Strickland had just been a bit more active in there, it maybe like could have done it a bit more convincingly. Like even his coach was saying that he just wasn't really being active enough. Like he was standing there for a lot of it, kind of letting Duplessis walk him down at some points. But yeah, Duplessis a new champion, and he called out Adesanya for. I don't know if he called him out specifically for 300, but he definitely does want to get that fight against Adesanya going. And I wouldn't be completely against that, but I still reckon I would rather just see Strickland get a rematch. Like again, just because it was such a close fight and everyone's now mad over this decision. And Strickland is like he's definitely one of the biggest names they've got over the moment. He brings a lot of hype, so I'd be keen for that. But also, yeah, I wouldn't mind the Adesanya fight as well, I guess. And yeah, but that was UFC 297. Like there was not really anything to talk about like this card was just dead as fuck, to be honest. For the majority of it, kind of felt cheated out of my money. But the main event I'd say lived up to it. And like I think if they had a rematch, it could be even like they could improve on it even more. Like I feel like another fight them two together could be even better than the first one. So I would like to see that. But yeah, that was 297, and yeah, it was pretty mid.